Hi, I'm Congressman Ron Kine. This year the Congress is hoping to bring a 5-year farm bill up for reauthorization. I think that's important. I think our farmers need to know back home what to prepare for and what to anticipate over the next 5 years. But this next farm bill should be a good bill, not a bad bill, pursuing policies that make sense for our family farmers and not those programs that are fiscally irresponsible to the American taxpayer. I remind people back home in Wisconsin that production agriculture is still the #1 industry that we have, employing more people directly or indirectly than any other business. So it's important that we provide support for our family farmers, understanding the importance of food security in our country, but the economic value and the jobs that are created back home. For a number of years now, I've led the effort for meaningful farm bill reforms that would not only provide important assistance to our families, but be more fiscally responsible to the American taxpayers. That's why this week I introduced legislation called the AFFIRM Act, along with my Republican colleague Tom Petri from Wisconsin, that would further reform and tighten up the crop insurance program in this next farm bill. Today, crop insurance premiums receive a taxpayer subsidy. The typical farmer receives roughly 62% of the taxpayer premium subsidy. Unfortunately, most of the subsidy goes to the very large agribusinesses in our country. In fact, just 4% of these agribusinesses receive over 1/3 of these crop insurance premiums. I think that's wrong. I don't think that's fiscally responsible to the taxpayer. It's leading to greater consolidation in production agriculture, squeezing small and mid-sized farmers out of the market, and it's driving up land values at a time when our farmers can least afford it. So we would put a cap on the amount of taxpayer subsidy premiums for the crop insurance program at $40,000 a year. That still would not touch over 96% of the farmers throughout our country. Yet it would start to rein in the excessive spending to a few but very large agribusinesses at the top. We also, in our legislation, call for who would be eligible for these subsidies by limiting it to those who make less than $250,000 a year in adjusted gross income. That's $250,000 worth of profit on that farm operation. We think if you're doing that well, you should no longer be dependent on taxpayer subsidies in order to do your business. And finally, I think it's important that we keep risk into farming by making sure that farmers do have some skin in the game, by asking them to contribute a little bit more with crop insurance. Otherwise, a lot of highly erodible and sensitive land, fallow land, will be brought back into production, knowing that any loss in yield or income that farmers experience will be picked up by the American taxpayer. I think we're already seeing a lot of land in Wisconsin in highly sensitive areas brought back into production that really shouldn't be because of historically high commodity prices. So I would hope that more of our colleagues in Washington and more people back home would take a closer look at this AFFIRM legislation, the needed reforms we have with crop insurance, so at the end of the day, if we are able to pass a 5-year farm bill, which I do believe is necessary, that it's a good farm bill, one that works for farmers back home, but is also responsible to the American taxpayer.